going, everybody? My name is Rashid Coleman, and I'm going to be hosting this series for you today called gonemaad, which is going to be centered around mental health, anxiety, and depression. It is an issue that affects over 40 million Americans 18 years of age or older, as well as 350 million people worldwide. I know when I was a child, this was an issue that never came up. I didn't even know about anxiety or depression until I experienced it myself. So I'm hoping to utilize this space as an opportunity to share my story and invite as many other people as I can to share their story as well.
Hi everybody, I'm Kristen. I'm here to talk about how I manage and when I was diagnosed with my anxiety and depression. I felt like it was undiagnosed for many, many years until 2 years ago when my mother died. I started to go regularly to therapy, and one of the things the therapist called me out on was that I was depressed. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating properly, I wasn't managing my everyday things that I normally do. I thought that if I just went to therapy and talked about it, that would be the end of it. It would be the case closed. Unfortunately, my therapist recommended me taking some medication to find balance. And I gotta be honest, I didn't want to take the medication. I just thought, as a professional, as an African American, as a strong Black woman, I could manage this on my own. And so I stopped going to therapy after 3 months, and it increasingly got worse. I was a hazard to myself and to others. The first time I recalled being depressed was when my son died about 14 years ago, and I just thought I was depressed because he died. And I thought time heals everything. Unfortunately, it didn't. It got seriously, seriously bad. I had thoughts of suicide. I quit jobs. I was angry. I was volatile. And I went to a very, very, very unsafe and unhealthy place. And one of the things that helped me identify that I was definitely depressed was wanting to be a mother again and my body being resistant to it. There is nothing wrong physically with me, but I was unable to produce another child. And it was because I was chemically imbalanced, and I just had to get healthy again. I had to get clean, per se, in my mindset in order to be able to, deliver another baby, because I lost the child and I wanted that back. And nothing was wrong with my son. He was born a healthy baby boy, and he just died in a car accident. So depression definitely attacks not only your mind, but it attacks your body. And I started first time going to therapy then, and it started to help. I didn't need medication because I was actually doing what the therapist asked me to do, because at the end of the day, I wanted to have a baby. It was 7 years before I had my next child, and I was like, okay, I'm finished with therapy, I'm done. And in the delivery room, as I'm birthing her, I decided not to proceed in giving life. And the nurses and doctors were like, wait a minute, why are you doing this? And I'm like, I can't keep her safe outside of my womb. And immediately after I had her, I was chronically depressed. I was crying all the time. I mean, like, much worse than postpartum. And that was like, my doctor's like, oh, have you ever had signs of depression? And I'm like, no, because I was too afraid to admit it. I was feeling like I managed it before. I did all of the things they told me to do before. I can do it again. And so I did, and I became better. But then by the time my mother passed away 2 years ago, I couldn't deal. It was terrible. I quit my job. I didn't want to be around anyone. I have 2 daughters, and I didn't know how to explain it to them. And I wanted to cease to exist. And that's a hard statement to make when you know that you have the ability to exist. Like you have the knowledge, you have the power, you have the activity of your limbs, you have your professional ways, you have stability, you have people around you, and I still would rather just not be here. I imagined driving off the road, I imagined jumping off of a bridge. It was snapping, I wasn't eating, I wasn't doing anything that I should have been doing. And I went to therapy again, and this time when medicine was offered to me, I took it. So one of the things I realized is it was offered to me too many times for me to say that I don't have a problem. And just like if I was an alcoholic or if I was a drug addict or if I was just a dangerous person, if other people on the outside looking in saw a problem, then there was a problem. I'm currently still taking medication, but I feel better about myself. I mean, I do more things spiritually, holistically, to make me feel better about myself. Those thoughts that I used to have, I don't have anymore. And I feel like I just feel lighter. Anxiety does make you feel very, very heavy, and depression is even worse because you literally can feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. You literally think that the worst case scenario. Sometimes I could be sitting still, and if a fly in my face, I want to fall out the chair because I feel like I'm so deep in my negative thoughts. Some advice that I can have for anyone out there dealing with anxiety and depression is to be honest with yourself. And if someone is saying that they see something in you that's different or that's not what they're used to saying, be honest with yourself and say, something is going on with me, regardless if it's a little thing or a big thing. One of the things I find helpful now is talking about what it's like losing a child or what it's like losing a parent. I was an only child, so my parent was my entire world. I didn't feel like I just lost my mother. I felt like I lost my lineage. Especially when you have children and you're really invested in teaching them where they came from and who they are, and just even being relatives, having relatives and knowing this person is related to you. When my mother passed away, all of that ceased to exist for me, ideally. So if I have advice for anybody out there, is the fact, first of all, you're not by yourself. This anxiety and depression is everywhere. If someone's telling you need to manage it better, just like you would manage a cold or just like you would manage a sprained ankle, something that could prevent you from being your best self, then you should do it. You shouldn't feel attacked. You shouldn't feel like, oh, I'm crazy. Because having anxiety or being depressed doesn't devalue who you are. Not managing it appropriately does. It does say that I can't cope with this by myself and I need some supports and I need some help. If someone offers you medication and you're resistant to it at first, that's understandable. You always should seek a second opinion. You shouldn't just jump on the first thing that's offered to you. But if you find, or if someone around you finds that your behavior, your attitude is getting increasingly worse than it usually is, then you should probably try a doctor's advice and taking some sort of medication. There's also spiritual things you can do. You can, do some relaxation or do yoga or talk to a friend or talk to a support group. I go to a support group as well for mothers who have lost children. It's one of the things that I think about more than I think about the death, is that at least I had a chance to experience my child. There are mothers out there who've never had a chance to experience. There are mothers out there who don't know where their children are. So I always try to look at it as a positive. So I hope I helped you. I hope I helped you, and I hope I answered some questions for you. And the end of the day or the end of this conversation, the one thing that I want you to take away from this is that anxiety and depression is not meant to kill you. Dealing with it is helpful. Not dealing with it is hurtful.
That's awesome. That's good. Thank you.
Look at the kids. All right.